Mr. Sherman for 5 minutes.
Thank you. Mr. Klein, you point out that some of the greatest Jews in history lived in the West Bank, near Hebron, and elsewhere. But I would, it's my time, Mr. Klein. I would point out that some of the greatest Greeks in history lived in Western Anatolia and in Alexandria, a city founded by perhaps the greatest Greek of all, Alexander. Some of the greatest Greek temples to their false gods were built in Alexandria and in Anatolia. This does not mean that I support Greek annexation of northern Egypt or western Turkey. Our first was Eugene. You go through a list of places where you look at the previous borders. I'd point out that the U.S. rejects that when it comes to Kosovo, which of course was part of Serbia in the Yugoslav Federation. But I think we will find a time when Palestinian or Arab nationalists demand annexation and Israel rejects it. And I'll tell you why. You go back to your Ukraine example, you say, okay, Crimea, very much part of Ukraine. It was inhabited mostly by Russian speakers, a lot of Tatars. During the decades in which Kyiv controlled Crimea, were the Russian speakers disenfranchised or given the full franchise? Yes or no? It's a very simple question.
Is that a question?
Yeah.
They were allowed to vote in Ukrainian elections.
Right. And could you imagine what would happen in the Knesset if everyone living on the West Bank and Gaza were able to vote? I think that would be a civil war in Israel. So annexation without enfranchisement is not something that the United States has ever supported. But I'll point out that I think Donald Trump was very clear when he said in September, I will not allow Israel to annex the West Bank. I will not allow it. It's not going to happen. And while some have argued that you don't need to annex the West Bank because it's already part of Israel, clearly that's not what President Trump had in mind. I've got a question for Mr. Klein that you're sitting next to the gentleman from the Heritage Foundation. Heritage Foundation President Kevin Roberts said, conservatives should not be canceling Nick Fuentes, and he excoriated those who called out Tucker Carlson as a venomous coalition of the globalist class. I believe you have called out Tucker Carlson for platforming a man who says Hitler was very effing cool. Are you part of a venomous coalition of the global class when you call for the denunciation of Mr. Fuentes?
Yes, Mike Huckabee's part of the venomous coalition, President Trump, Mark Levin. This was an outrageous statement. Obviously, when Tucker Carlson not only platforms a vicious Jew hater and denier of the Holocaust who praises Stalin and Hitler without repudiating him at that interview, had he had him there as an interview and condemned him for virtually everything he said, that would be one thing. But to be nodding his head and letting him go on and on with his outrageous statement, that was the crime.
I'll now shift to the gentleman from the Heritage Foundation. How comfortable are you staying at the Heritage Foundation given this dispute about the man who thinks that Hitler is cool?
I don't think there's any dispute at Heritage about Nick Fuentes. I think the president of Heritage, Kevin Roberts, has subsequently very clearly denounced Nick Fuentes. And most importantly, our work to combat anti-Semitism has vastly expanded in the past couple of years, certainly since I came aboard in the past year.
I'll go finally to Mr. Altman. Can you think of how Israel, that if Israel were to annex the West Bank, do you think the world would tolerate the decades and decades of disenfranchising those who live there? And when I say disenfranchising, they might be allowed to vote in local elections, but no franchise to vote for the national government.
When I think of examples
of countries that have had large populations where people, by nature of race, religion, ethnicity, have been systematically disenfranchised. It's not ended well. Whether it's the French presence in Algeria, southern Rhodesia, on and on and on, and as we currently see with the Chinese occupation of Tibet, it creates and also with the Uyghurs in Western China, it creates a sense of injustice.
Thank you. The ranking member, I would just note there are Palestinian Israeli citizens serving in the Knesset. Okay? So show me the Arab state where there are Jews serving in their government, and look
Bahrain's
forward